There's a frequency signature being broadcast from your body right now that the universe reads like a barcode. And most people are transmitting static. Not occasionally, not when they're stressed, constantly. It's why you can visualize perfectly, affirm with conviction, script your desires in present tense, and still watch someone else living the life you've been calling in for years. This isn't about worthiness. It's not about karma or divine timing or any of the spiritual bypassing we use to make sense of the gap between what we want and what we're experiencing. There's something happening at the quantum level that nobody talks about because it sounds too simple to be the answer. But here's what most people don't realize. The universe doesn't respond to your desires. It responds to your coherence. Let me show you something. Right now, your heart is generating an electromagnetic field that extends 3 to 6 feet beyond your body. Measurable, documented. This isn't metaphysics, this is biophysics. That field carries information. It broadcasts your current state of being into the quantum field like a radio signal, and the field, reality itself, is constantly reading that signal and organizing particles, probabilities, and possibilities around it. Not around your thoughts, not around your vision board, around the electromagnetic signature of what you actually are in this moment. And that signature is either coherent or it's chaotic. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You probably heard about manifestation techniques, affirmations, visualizations, scripting, acting as if, and you've probably tried them. Maybe they worked once or twice. Maybe you got small things. A parking spot, $20, a text from someone you were thinking about. But the big stuff, the life-changing manifestations, they stay just out of reach. And you start wondering if you're doing something wrong, if you're blocked, if there's some karmic debt you need to clear first. Let me tell you what's actually happening. Every technique you've ever learned, every single one, works through the same mechanism. They're all attempting to shift your state of consciousness so that the electromagnetic field your body generates matches the frequency of what you desire. That's it. That's the entire game. Affirmations don't work because words have magic power. Visualization doesn't work because the universe is watching a movie in your head. These techniques work when, and only when, they successfully shift you into coherence with the reality you're calling in. And most of the time, they don't. Because you're using them from the wrong operating system. Think about it. When you sit down to visualize your dream life, what's your starting state? Usually, you're aware that you don't have it yet. That awareness, that gap between current reality and desired reality, creates a specific electromagnetic signature. It's the signature of lack, of wanting, of reaching for something outside yourself. And no matter how vividly you visualize, no matter how much emotion you generate, that underlying signal, I don't have this, I need this, I'm trying to get this, is what the field responds to. The universe doesn't hear your visualization, it reads your field state, and your field state is broadcasting, this is someone who doesn't have what they want. Here's what quantum physics has known for 100 years, but manifestation teachings rarely explain correctly. The observer effect isn't about positive thinking, it's about coherence. When a quantum particle exists in superposition, meaning it's literally in all possible states simultaneously, what collapses it into one specific reality isn't hope or intention or desire. It's the coherent observation of a conscious observer. Coherent. That word matters. A coherent observer is someone whose electromagnetic field, nervous system state, and conscious awareness are aligned, unified, broadcasting the same signal. Most people are not coherent observers. Their mind wants one thing. Their nervous system is preparing for another. Their electromagnetic field is broadcasting a third entirely. And the quantum field, which is exquisitely sensitive, which responds to coherence like a tuning fork responds to the right frequency, receives mixed signals and delivers mixed results, or no results, or results that match the strongest signal, which is usually the nervous system's survival-based fear frequency, not the mind's hopeful desire. So let me ask you something. When you think about your deepest desire, the thing you've been trying to manifest for months or years, what happens in your body? Be honest. Do you feel expansion, relaxation, a sense of inevitability, or do you feel a slight contraction, a tension, an urgency? That bodily response is telling you everything. It's showing you the signal you're actually broadcasting. And if there's tension, if there's urgency, if there's any sensation of needing or chasing or forcing where you're not coherent, you're in resistance. And resistance at the quantum level creates more of what you're resisting. The universe doesn't reward effort. It doesn't care how hard you're trying. It responds to states of being. And specifically, it responds to the state quantum physicists call zero-point coherence. This is the state where your system isn't trying to get anywhere, isn't fighting against what is, isn't generating the electromagnetic noise of wanting. It's the state of complete presence, complete alignment, and from that state, you don't attract what you want. You become the vibrational equivalent of it, and reality reorganizes to match. Now I know what you're thinking. That sounds great, but how do I get there when my current reality is the opposite of what I desire? How do I feel abundant when my bank account is empty? How do I embody health when my body is sick? How do I radiate partnership when I'm alone? This is the question that stops most people. And it's the wrong question, because you're still operating from the paradigm of changing your external reality first, then feeling better. Coherence works the opposite way. Let me explain how your nervous system is involved in this, because this is the missing piece that makes everything else finally make sense. Your autonomic nervous system has two primary states: sympathetic, which is survival, fight or flight, scanning for threats, preparing for danger, and parasympathetic, which is safety, rest, digest, create, connect. When your nervous system is in sympathetic dominance, which most people are most of the time, your electromagnetic field is broadcasting a very specific frequency. It's the frequency of not safe, not enough, need to survive. That frequency is incompatible with manifestation, completely incompatible. You can't think your way out of a nervous system state. You can visualize abundance while your nervous system is screaming danger, and your nervous system will win every time, because your nervous system generates a stronger electromagnetic signal than your conscious thoughts. It's older, it's more powerful, and it's directly connected to the quantum field through the electromagnetic frequencies your heart generates. So when manifestation teachers tell you to just believe more, affirm harder, visualize longer, they're asking you to override your nervous system with your mind, and your mind will lose that battle 99 times out of 100. But here's what changes everything. Your nervous system responds to one thing faster than anything else: coherence between your heart rhythm and your brain waves. When you establish heart-brain coherence, your nervous system shifts out of sympathetic dominance and into a state where manifestation becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Because in that state, you're no longer broadcasting fear. You're broadcasting a signal the quantum field recognizes as creative potential, as certainty, as someone who already is what they're calling in. Heart-brain coherence isn't meditated on. It's not relaxation. It's a specific, measurable physiological state where your heart rhythm becomes smooth and ordered, what researchers call a coherent sine wave pattern. And that ordered rhythm synchronizes your brain waves, balances your nervous system, and creates an electromagnetic field that extends beyond your body in a torus pattern of organized energy. In that state, You're not trying to manifest. You're not hoping or wishing or wanting. You're generating a field signature that reality has no choice but to match. Let me give you the practice, because knowing this intellectually changes nothing. You have to embody it, and embodiment happens through repetition, through training your nervous system into a new baseline. Find a quiet moment, close your eyes, place your hand on your heart. Now, breathe, but not normal breathing, slow, deep breathing where your inhale is 5 seconds and your exhale is 5 seconds, equal breathing. This signals safety to your nervous system immediately. As you breathe, keep your attention on your heart area, not your thoughts about your heart, your actual felt sense of the physical space where your heart is. And here's the key. As you breathe and focus on your heart, recall a genuine feeling of appreciation, not for what you want, not for what you're trying to manifest. Appreciation for something simple and real. A person you love. A moment of beauty you witnessed. A time you felt completely at peace. Let that feeling generate naturally, Don't force it. What you're doing is creating coherence between your emotional state and your heart rhythm. The feeling of appreciation is one of the few emotions that instantly creates a coherent heart rhythm pattern. Within 60 to 90 seconds of sustained appreciation while breathing slowly and focusing on your heart rhythm becomes coherent. And when your heart rhythm is coherent, it sends signals to your brain that shift your brain waves into coherence. And when your heart and brain are coherent, your entire electromagnetic field organizes into a unified signal. That signal, that coherent field state, is what the universe responds to, not your words, not your visualizations, your field. And in a coherent field state, you're not asking the universe for anything. You're not trying to attract or manifest or create. You're simply being a coherent observer. And coherent observers collapse quantum possibilities into matching realities automatically, not through effort, through resonance. Now here's where most people make a critical mistake. They do this practice once, feel amazing, and then go back to their normal state of nervous system chaos and wonder why nothing changed. Coherence isn't a one-time event, it's a baseline you train into your system. You practice this daily. 5 minutes minimum, but ideally 15, until your nervous system learns that coherence is the default, not the exception. And as your baseline shifts, your electromagnetic signature shifts. And as your signature shifts, your reality begins reorganizing to match it. Not all at once, but undeniably. But there's a second part to this that takes from heart-brain coherence to full field coherence. And this is where you step into the level of manifestation that looks magical to people who don't understand the mechanics. Once you've established heart-brain coherence through the practice I just described, you expand the field. You do this through intention, but not mental intention, somatic intention. You feel your electromagnetic field expanding beyond your body, 6 feet, 12 feet, filling the room. You don't visualize this, you feel it. There's a distinct sensation when your awareness includes the space around your body as part of you. In this expanded state, you're no longer a separate self trying to manipulate reality. You're a field of consciousness interacting with the larger field of consciousness. And there's no separation between you and what you desire. It's already within your field, already part of your energetic reality. You're not calling it in from somewhere else, you're recognizing it as already present in the quantum field of infinite possibility that your coherent field is now directly interfacing with. And then, this is crucial, you embody the identity of the version of you that already has what you desire, not by pretending, not by acting as if, but by asking your nervous system a very simple question. How does the version of me who already has this feel in their body right now? And you wait for the answer. You let your nervous system show you. Maybe it's a feeling of calm, maybe it's expansion in your chest, maybe it's a sense of groundedness in your legs. Whatever it is, you breathe into that sensation. You let it become more real than your current circumstances. This is identity integration. And it's different from affirmations or visualizations because you're not using your mind to convince yourself of something your body doesn't believe. You're using your coherent field state to access the version of your identity that already exists in the quantum field, because all versions of you exist simultaneously in superposition, and you're collapsing the wave function through coherent observation of that specific identity. You're choosing which version of you becomes real. The universe has no choice but to obey this, not because you're forcing anything, but because you've aligned with the fundamental mechanics of how consciousness creates reality. You've become a coherent observer. You've shifted your field state. You've integrated a new identity at the nervous system level, and the quantum field, which is not separate from you, which is responsive to coherence like water is responsive to the shape of the container, reorganizes to match your signal. But let me tell you the 3 ways people sabotage this even when they're practicing correctly. Because awareness of these traps is what separates people who do the practice and see some results from people who do the practice and experience complete reality shifts. First trap, checking. You do the coherence practice, you feel amazing, and then 5 minutes later you check to see if anything has changed. You look at your bank account. You check your phone to say if they texted. You scan your body to see if you feel different. And every time you check, you're breaking coherence. You're moving from being to wanting, from embodiment to seeking. And the field responds to that shift instantly. Second trap, doing the practice to get something. This is subtle. You sit down to create coherence, but your underlying motivation is, I need to do this so I can manifest what I want. That motivation is the frequency of lack. It's the signal of I don't have it yet. I need this practice to work so I can finally get it. And that signal overrides the coherence you're creating. The practice has to be done for its own sake, for the state itself, not as a means to an end. When you practice coherence because coherence feels like your natural state, like coming home to yourself, that's when manifestation becomes automatic. Third trap, attachment to timing. You create coherence, you integrate the new identity, and then you decide it should show up by Friday, or you start negotiating with the universe. Okay, if not the full thing, at least show me a sign by the end of the month. Every time you impose a timeline, you're injecting doubt. You're saying, I don't trust that this is already done. The coherent observer knows it's already done. The timing of the physical manifestation is irrelevant because the quantum reality is already shifted. You're living from the end, not waiting for the end. When you catch yourself in any of these traps, you don't judge yourself. You don't start over. You simply return to coherence. Hand on heart, slow breathing, appreciation, expansion, embodiment. Return, 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 until returning becomes automatic, until coherence becomes who you are, not what you do. And then something interesting starts happening. Your desires begin manifesting, yes, but you stop caring as much, because you've given up, but because the coherent state feels so complete, so whole, so absolutely enough that the manifestations become bonuses rather than necessities. And paradoxically, that's when they start showing up faster. Because you're no longer broadcasting need, you're broadcasting overflow. And overflow attracts more overflow. The universe is not punishing you, it's not testing you, it's not making you prove you're worthy. It's a mirror, an exquisitely accurate mirror reflecting back the exact frequency you're broadcasting. And when you master coherence, when your field state becomes consistently aligned, when your nervous system trusts safety, when your identity shifts from someone who wants to someone who is. The mirror has no choice but to reflect that back to you, not because you forced it, but because that's how mirrors work. This is the one thing, the thing beneath all the techniques, the thing that makes everything else finally work. Coherence, not as a concept, not as a goal, but as your lived, embodied electromagnetic reality. Master this, and you're not manifesting anymore. You're creating consciously, coherently, inevitably, the way you were always meant to